ladies and gentlemen. We're very happy to be back and we're excited again. Sean, good to see you
How we
back in
doing?
front of the mic. Rob, always a pleasure.
Always.
Boys, this was something that a few months ago I couldn't even stomach putting them on the TV. But now I can't get them off of it.
It's James Harden season.
It's James Harden season, man. Sean, I know you're probably one of the bigger basketball fans I know. Like, what's the temperature? What's the feeling going on over there in Downingtown? How are we?
I mean, we went from, wow, we have a great player and this is a good season and all with no real chance to we can actually win a title this year. And I really believe that.
Yeah. I mean, especially you made really good points earlier. You can make a case for every team that's going to be in the playoffs. Not all of them, but like there's a solid case for 12 teams out there, but then there's solid cases against all those 12 teams. So like we really don't know how it's going to shake out.
Yeah, the NBA is as wide open as it's been probably in my lifetime.
Wow. That's a bold statement.
I'm excited, man. Like the East is wide open.
The East is wide open. The thing that makes me nervous right now when you look at like the Sixers where they're probably going to finish is I have a feeling, but at the same time, that might be the most exciting round one in like Eastern Conference history. If they play the Nets round one, man. And he can't avoid that one.
No, he's got to show up then.
Little rat.
Yeah, he's got to show up.
He got back problems now. Bro, I've had back problems for 3 years. I'm still at work every day. Get the fuck out of here. Rob, what do you think? We were watching it Friday together. What do you think the biggest issue is right now with the Sixers?
I'm glad you came at me with that one first because this is actually like a big one that I had for you guys that I want to talk about. So for me, I think it's depth, right? So if we're talking championship or bust, all in with the Harden trade, which I'm all in favor of. It's been an absolute blast to watch. We enjoyed Friday night. Was a great game. You were at the game last night, so I want to get a sense from you. Like, what's it like, boots on the ground? What's the vibe like now in-house, having Harden now on the squad? What was it like last night? But for me, to answer your question, it's the bench. And really, that's what I want to get, Sean. I want to get your thoughts on, like, if we're considering this a championship run, do we have enough depth? Do we have enough scoring out of the bench to really get this done?
No, probably not. I mean, really, realistically, your bench is George Niang, who fits really well with Harden as just a guy that gets the ball and goes right up. I mean, it's catch and shoot. I'm not dribbling. I'm not pretending to be mellow like Tobias Harris. I know you like to say that, Mike.
Drives me crazy, bro.
Yeah, it's crazy.
Wait, let's hold on to Tobias. We'll get to
him. Yeah, we need a whole segment for that.
All right.
We'll get to him.
So you got Niang, who's like a real role player and will give you like real production. And then you got Danny Green, who you can like rely on for 10 minutes, and he's been there, and he can hit the three, stretch the floor, but I mean, his value runs out the longer he's on the court. Like playing him for 20 plus minutes is a problem. And everybody else, I mean, you don't really have any other real bench players. Shake Milton can't play. Korkmaz can't play. Like Paul Millsap can't play. Paul Reed can't play. Isaiah Joe can't play. Like you need more. But that's what's so good about the Sixers right now. Why I believe their window is open because of their starting lineup. I mean, they do have 3 really, really good players in their starting lineup.
Does it kind of break your heart to see Paul Millsap? Because I was a big Paul Millsap fan.
He was that dude for a minute.
Like, he was a monster. And, like, just to see there is nothing left in those springs, man. Oh, my God. Like, coming up short on layups and stuff. It's like, oh.
Yeah, he's cooked.
It's a shame, man, because he was such a dog.
Yeah.
I mean, it happens to everybody 5
you
times.
Think you're going to get much more out of DeAndre, though? Like, how much more are you expecting out of Jordan?
I think they'll get more.
He'll get off the
first.
Right, exactly. He could catch
the first run yesterday. Did you guys see Harden try to get him the oop?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, my God.
Yeah, I mean,
the place was going crazy for that.
They were ready for it. So overall, what was it like down there being at the Bulls game?
So I was paying a lot of attention to like warm-ups and like how the team interacts, George Niang's the glue guy. Like everybody loves him. He makes everybody laugh. He gets the people going. Tyrese Maxey's the spark plug. And that Harden's clearly the leader of the team. I mean, you see it every play. He's telling somebody what they're doing wrong. And you know what my favorite part about him is, and it gets the fans riled up? He talks his shit too. Like he is in people's ears the entire game. I mean, that was the most electric I've seen it probably in 3 years. I don't know. I mean, I guess maybe like you suck the soul out of the Sixers fans for so many months, but now there's like a huge glimpse of hope. False hope, probably, but hope nonetheless. I don't know.
Hope
That
is
was
hope
fun.
right now.
Hope is hope, man. And when you look at the East, like there's nobody that's like terrifying. There's a lot of really solid teams, but like you shouldn't be afraid of anybody. If you're the Sixers, I don't know why you would be.
No, I agree.
Who's the biggest threat at this point?
I mean, every team has strengths. Every team has weaknesses. Like Miami kind of scares me because they play as a real unit. Like it's a real team. They play team defense, which like you need. They have ISO scores, which you need. Like they have dudes that can get buckets. But I mean, they don't have a real star. Like you can't count on Jimmy Butler to show up for 34 out of 7 games, like you can Joel Embiid.
Yeah, you need at least a couple of those guys hitting their shots right on any given night as well. But I mean, that's
for sure.
They do have a shooting element too.
I mean, they have a pretty full roster over there.
They do. They have some
like
real
that.
depth.
I like that team a lot. It just like that's one of those teams. Like you look at, like I'm not scared of them if I'm a Sixers player, and like the Bucks are another team. Like they don't seem to be. They were drinking too much of their own tea, I guess. But like come playoff time, we all know what happens if Giannis wants to turn it up another notch. Like, I guess that team's kind of scary. Those two are to me are the two biggest threats.
I think the Sixers-Bucks matchup is, could very well be in our future. And to me, I think it's a great matchup. But I've always felt like the Sixers, especially with Joel, matched up particularly well with the Bucks. I played them well. They played them well before the Harden trade, most recently. So I think it's an interesting matchup for sure. I'm more worried about, like you mentioned, first round running into a team like the Nets, just by nature of where the standings are, or having a team, a hot team going in and maybe having a tough go at it early on, as opposed to, because I mean, we're talking about the NBA being wide open, and particularly in the East. I mean, the top 6, 7 seeds are only separated by only a couple games.
To me, the way the seedings are going to shake out, whether it be the Heat, Bucks, or Sixers that have to play the Nets round 1, those three, whoever has to play the Nets round 1 isn't going to make it to the finals, just off the sheer fact they're going to have to play 21 games. You know what I mean? Like the other 2 teams are going to get a free first round because outside of those 4, nobody's a real threat to come out of the East. There's like a couple cute stories, but like there's nobody there that the Sixers should lose to. Granted, we said this about the Hawks last year, but we have somebody that actually wants to shoot the ball now, so it's a completely different story. But if whoever has to play the Nets round 1 and then go play the Heat or the Bucks or the Sixers round 2 and then the other team after, bro, that's a tall feat.
Yeah, you're asking for a lot for sure.
Yeah.
I mean, to see Kevin Durant in the first round is terrifying to me. Like, that's terrifying. For a team that's never been out of the second round, now I have to play Kevin Durant just to get into the second round. Like, I'm supposed to win a championship or have a chance to win a championship. I mean, you're fighting with fire with there, for real, for sure.
Yeah, that's going to be a nightmare scenario. Let's just pray to God that the seeding works out in our favor with that, where at least you can push it off to round 2. Get healthy, get fresh. Like, you don't want to go 7, go 7, go 7. I just, with Joe, the way he flops around like a fish hold on. I think my biggest grievance with the Sixers right now, why the fuck is he always on the floor? Bro, you are the biggest, strongest dude. And you guys were giving me hell for this earlier. It's like, bro, just don't. Why are you always the one falling?
You can't criticize Joel Embiid right now.
Yeah,
It's not fair.
But
All right,
he
all
falls.
right, I'm done.
You know, it's a part of it. It's an art for him.
It is an art
It's
for
an
him.
That's not. It's an, you
He
know,
loves the drama. It is an art for him.
don't think there's no training going involved in that. So
I know, but he's always grabbing something after every time. It's like, bro, just let the ball go out of bounds. If you're gonna fake hurt, like, just stop it. All right, I'm done. I had to get something out.
Thank you. Yeah, let's be done with that. Put that in the past.
All right, that's in the past. All right, but then let's get into somebody that we really need to talk about then. And let's bring it up. What the fuck, like, bro? Get the ball off the floor, bro. Just shoot. That's all you got to do now. Your job got easier, but you're making it harder on yourself. And I don't ever want to see the possession die with the ball in his hands, like at the top of the key. Get it out. Just shoot it or pass it. I don't want to see it anymore. It's driving me insane. I'm done.
Yeah, I mean, it's frustrating to watch him right now. He's clearly in over his head or in his own head. I mean, he doesn't need to put the ball on the floor. I mean, we never need to see that ever again. He needs to study George Niang tape. You catch the ball, you shoot the ball. If the shot's not there, you pass it back to Harden, who will get you another shot.
Yeah.
I mean, he's pretty much your dad. Like, he does everything for you. I don't know. Like, stop.
They've been reporting that that's what Harris has been working on, right? Report is like his catch and shoot. And at this point, he's got to work himself into that role. And after a couple games, maybe there's a little bit of growing pains, some struggle in finding that role. But at the end of the day, in order to get the most out of Tobias Harris going into this run, he needs to develop more into that catch and shoot role for this team. But I mean, his numbers, they haven't been great this year. So, he just hasn't been that great of a shooter. What's it, 47% from the field, 33.5 from three. I mean, he just hasn't been that great of a shooter, but you're hoping with what Harden brings to you, from the perspective of what he could open up in terms of spacing and giving other guys opportunities, his ability to distribute the ball. You just got to hope Harris can start cashing in on some of those opportunities.
Talk about an art form. The way that dude distributes the ball is beautiful.
Nice.
And you could tell nobody's played with somebody like that because there's a lot of times where dudes just aren't ready for the ball. Yeah. It's crazy. And he hits them right in the numbers. I mean, that guy's a monster. And I guess I never appreciated him at Houston like the way you should, but like now that I'm rooting for him, that dude's an absolute monster.
Yeah, he's a great point guard. Like, he's not just a scorer. Like, I feel like he gets all the credit for like his scoring and putting up 30 in Houston all the time. And but I mean, he is a really good point guard, just floor general passer of the ball. I mean, he is really great at what he does.
I want to give us a silver lining, but you guys might disagree with me. But I feel like there is something to be said about Tobias Harris being the fourth option for your team. Like that. That's better than most fourth options out there around the league. That I'm looking at every roster. I'm like, I'd rather have Toby than him. I'd rather have Toby than him. I mean, right now, the way he's playing ball, like, it's easy to argue that. But when push comes to shove, at least he doesn't shy away from it. We saw it last playoffs. He still lets it fly. Like he's not like the other guy. We're not even going to bring his name up.
He'll at least try.
Yeah, he leaves it out there.
Run and hide in a corner.
Yeah, he leaves it out there, and there's something to be said about that at least. I don't know. I do think sometime in the playoffs, you're not going to get much out of Maxey one game, and like Toby's going to have to step up, and I think Toby is going to have one or two of those games where he drops like 30 to 35, and he's like that Seth Curry of last year's playoff run, where he shines in the second half, maybe gets the Sixers a win. Wishful thinking.
Well, no, and in any championship run scenario, Tobias Harris is going to have to steal you a game, win you a game or two in that run. I mean, especially when we're talking about their depth at their bench and, relying on that starting lineup, you're going to need everybody to chip in, and especially Harris when either Embiid or Harden or both are having a tough night. But you bring up him being a fourth option, and I think it's because now at number 3 you're looking at the emergence of Maxey, and that's one thing I wanted to ask you about, because you mentioned Harden and how much he's in guys' ears, and the one guy I see him talking to constantly is Maxey, and just what he's done for Maxey's game so far and being here alone has been huge. I mean, numbers in Maxey's last 10 games are off the charts, and he's been playing well. So, I mean, I think that's one of the biggest parts of this Harden deal, and now the Harden Sixers is what Maxey's been able to do. And he's getting comfortable when you see that creativity he has around finishing at the rim. Like some of those finishes that he has and his creativity, you can tell he's playing loose, he's playing confident. And I mean, that's what you want in every player, but especially right now when you're looking for somebody to be a strong third option after Harden and Embiid.
Yeah, and speaking to your comfortability, I mean, I think he's comfortable because Maxey's finally playing his natural position. I mean, he's not really a true point guard. He's not a great passer. He's not a floor general. He's a scorer. He's going to come in. I mean, he's energy. He's electric.
I have a question for you, Sean. Do you think that Maxey is more athletically gifted than James Harden?
Oh, I would think for sure. I don't think
so
James
too.
Harden, there's nothing special about James Harden. James Harden's game is like angles and strength, and it's not like I'm going to run right by you.
Yeah, but dude, Maxey flies.
Yeah,
bro.
Maxey.
There's times where he goes up for layups. He's going too fast.
Yeah,
and he misses it just off. He's too quick for his own good. I think he's going to learn a lot from that dude, and I think Maxey's going to be an absolute monster down the road. I mean, that's going to be something cool. You look at, say, if they do re-sign James Harden, which we're all praying for, like years down the line, like what Maxey has learned from him, like that's going to be dangerous because James Harden's skill set. Can't really think of too many other guys besides one that's had it, and that's Allen Iverson to me. But maybe I'm being too much of a fanboy in this current moment.
There's nothing wrong with that. I mean, it's a good time in Philadelphia right now.
It is a good time. Sun's starting to come out. It's warm. Sixers are buzzing. Let's go.
Yeah, I love it. You're not the only one, though, because Allen Iverson's name's being thrown out there because of the stretch that Harden's been on since joining the team and the runs that he's on. They're comparing his numbers to guys like Allen Iverson. So it's like, to your point, like we haven't seen a player really like James Harden since Allen, or and that kind of scoring ability and ability to do things on the floor like Harden, he's able to do. So that's what makes it so exciting. And now that the weather's getting better, even more likely, show out for a game and have a good time.
Yeah. What do we think realistically? I want us all to make a prediction on where this season folds. I'll start it off. I think they get to the conference finals and lose a series in 6. Just 'cause I can't just be like, oh, they're going to win the title this year. Just the way the seeding's shaking out, my fear is, like we were talking about earlier, is they're going to have to play the Nets, then they're going to have to play the Heat or the Bucks, or the Celtics or something, because the Celtics are playing good ball too. Like that's not a walk in the park right now at all.
We didn't mention them earlier, and I was gonna bring them up. Like, talk about a team you don't want to face. Like, okay, you avoid Brooklyn, but if you get stuck with Boston, I mean, they're not left on the schedule, so we don't see them. We don't get another warm up with the Harden lineup, and obviously I feel much more comfortable matched up against Boston with James Harden in the lineup, but it's still something we haven't seen yet, and it's a team that gives the Sixers a hard time. So that's a tough matchup too.
Yeah, that's where I see it folding out, but I could be wrong. Hopefully I am.
I mean, I think it all depends on the matchup, though, like who they play. Because like some teams scare me and some teams don't scare me at all. Like the Heat and the Bucks, I think could give the Sixers very serious problems. But the Cavs, no. Chicago, hell no. The Nets, I mean, it depends what the Nets come back. If Kyrie can play, what's Ben like? I mean, there's too many question marks with them. But like Charlotte, the Raptors, like they can beat a lot of these teams. It just depends how it shakes out. Gut feeling, I feel like they lose in the Eastern Conference Final, though.
Yeah, that's kind of where I'm at with it as well. Yeah, quick touch on the Bulls before I get to you, Rob. The Bulls are built to win regular season games when nobody's playing real defense. That's it. That's all that needs to be said about them. They're going to get throttled in the playoffs.
by maybe anybody.
But yeah, I think they do get bounced first round by anybody else that they see.
I'm not sure there's a team they could beat unless they play Charlotte, which they won't.
Yeah. No, they're not beating anybody else.
I really
That's a
believe that.
fact. Rob, where do you see this shaking out for us?
I mean, right now, for me, the biggest thing throughout the whole, the Sixers team has been finishing games, and it always has been from the Brett Brown days till now, and the ability to finish games and have a closer on the team. So for me, it all comes down to whether or not James Harden can do that in the playoffs. Because, if you didn't get him for that, then, what else is there, right? Because you haven't had that on this team, as it was led by Joel Embiid, right? You had Jimmy Butler for a year. We saw, that was a great run. So I'm thinking that kind of level of a run or more, but it all depends on whether or not Harden can close out games in the fourth quarter. I'm thinking games before Harden got here, like, the Phoenix game, being matched up with a solid squad like that before the trade deadline. And you saw how, really that game kind of fell apart in the fourth quarter late when they had no answer. They had no one they could rely on for scoring. So how does Harden change that late in games against quality opponents now? What's that look like in the playoffs? That's what it comes down to me. So I can't say they're going to go to the finals, without having a better idea of that because we just haven't seen it. But that's to me that's the key there. But right now, if Harden were to step it up, because I know he's got that reputation in the playoffs too that people have mentioned, alluded to as not being the strongest. Right, he's given up some series, whether Houston, Oklahoma City, going back to his time there. I look deeper though. I'm always more optimistic than I should be. You know that, Mike.
Yeah, you're definitely the more optimistic, reasonable one in the family. I'm definitely more pessimistic. Whatever. I don't see them coming out of the East right now. But
try to look on that bright side. We'll see.
Yeah, no, it's easier living that way. It's easier living that way. Boys, is there anything else we wanted to touch on with them?
I don't think so. I'm just ready for the rest of the season, collect these W's, find out who we play in the playoffs.
Yeah, I think we got a decent enough sample size to talk about it. Gave it a couple games, want to see how it pans out, and then definitely going to have a couple more of these coming out, everybody. Like, we're getting really excited. I hope everybody else is. Yeah, I can't wait for the playoffs, man. The playoffs, this might be the best NBA playoffs. And I think the NBA needs it ratings-wise. This might be the best NBA playoffs, arguably, in my lifetime. If you look at it from top to bottom, east to west, it could go any which way in a lot of different series. And it's crazy. I'm excited. Well, boys, I'm glad we did this. It was nice to be back.
It was fun. Let's do it again.
Let's do it again. All right, gentlemen.